tiny little doors. Hello YouTube. I know I haven't made any videos for a while, but I figure I'll make something interesting. Behind me is a real AC Cobra. I'm sure a lot of you have seen replicas like I have. I used to drive past when I was on my school bus every day an AC Cobra replica that belonged to one of the guys on the street where I grew up, and I always thought they looked really cool. There's definitely more replicas than there are real cars. I know there weren't too many of these made. I don't actually know a lot about the AC Cobra, so if anyone's watching this who's a real train spotter or is a real fan of this car, I'm really sorry. This isn't going to be, Doug DeMuro with his curated list of quirks and features. I'm doing this completely off the cuff. I'll probably just do it in one take. I'll take you around the car and have a look at things that I've found interesting, just giving it a little bit of a poke. I don't know a lot about the history of this vehicle either. It's just I got talking to the guy who owns it, and he was happy for me to make a short video to show some of you a real AC Cobra. So let's have a look. I've tried a couple times now to convince him to take this to the MX5 Club days, since it's basically the same thing. But in the meantime, I'll just show you some of the stuff that I thought was really cool. So we've got the Cobra badge on the front. I just think that looks really neat. Yeah, I just think that looks really cool. The old round lights and the polished chrome. I don't know what's stock on this or what's modified. It really is just an unusual vehicle to me, and just something that I really like the look of. Obviously, for a lot of people, this is going to be a bit outside the realms of achievement, so I've never really bothered to look too much into what I'd like or wouldn't like on a Cobra. And just, yeah, it's neat. I do believe that the 427s were the third generation Cobra, or the third revision, something like that. That's what this one is. It's got a massive engine. It's the whole car is basically just an engine with two seats strapped on. So the engine on this is pretty sizable. I think it's pretty cool. It's all linkages. I was kind of expecting throttle cables, but I don't really know a lot about cars of this vintage, so yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. There's a bunch of AN fittings in here, which I'm assuming are new additions. Again, not super familiar with what's period correct, but it is very simple compared to the cars that I'm used to working on. I do like that there's no door handles on these. They're actually hidden inside the car, so if I just focus in on the other side, there's the door handle there, and you just kind of pull that lever back and open it. So that's it. So that's it there. You just kind of pull that back, and that's your fancy door lever. You can see there's not a lot going on in the interior. It's just some carpet, signature from Carroll Shelby, a couple of critical gauges: oil, pressure, temperature, amps, fuel, speed, and RPM, and that's about it. But got a nice little glove box in there, which is neat. So again, I don't really know what's period correct and what's not, but I don't really care. It's just a cool car. So this managed to scare the crap out of me when I touched it before. Spring-loaded, watch this. That wasn't expecting that originally. So yeah, the whole thing is kind of springy. We've got a matching Cobra badge on the back. Come on, focus. There we go. The car does have a boot of sorts. It's got a little latch in there to prevent it from going back. Tire, battery, and a tie-down strap. And that's about it. So I've been told that the interior on this car is all original. You can see a fair bit of wear on the leather seats, but that's fine. It's nice to see a car that's used. I thought these were very cool. Check out these wipers. Though I can't imagine you'd be wanting to use this car while it's raining very much. I think they're just there for show at this point. This generation of car has the fully independent front suspension, which hopefully you can clearly see the mounting points for it just here. So basically just a normal coilover. What I found interesting about that is that the Cobra is in fact a mid-engine car. You can see that the engine is fully inside the caster point for the front wheels, so it is a true mid-engine vehicle. Front mid-engined, but mid-engined. So I imagine it's probably a fair bit of fun to drive. In case there was any doubt that this is a genuine car, I'm just going to delicately feed my camera in here. There it is. So I imagine this is something that a lot of fans would like to know, so they can go and check the provenance and the history and all the other interesting things, but those are the details of this specific Cobra. So getting in the car is actually pretty hard. Not exactly a big guy. Not a lot of space in here. But once you're in here, it actually feels really, it's really nice. It's just a good spot to be. The clutch takes an incredible amount of force to press in. And I've never been in a car where the accelerator pedal and the brake are so close together. It's actually a bit disconcerting compared to a modern vehicle. One thing that's really interesting is the way that the shifter works. It's not like a modern vehicle at all. I mean, you've got a little lift here to get into reverse, which I've seen in modern cars, but neutral doesn't feel neutral. There's no slack really to play with compared to being reversed. It's just as much. But if you do let it fall into neutral, neutral's directly beneath third and fourth. So yeah, it's got a very unusual feeling to select gears compared to a modern vehicle, which I guess you'd expect considering the time difference between when this is out and the cars that I normally drive. It's interesting. So it is at this point in the video that I have to disappoint everyone.
What I like about Ferraris.
We did in fact get the car started, but for whatever reason, the memory card on my camera decided today was the day to have emotional problems. I was so involved in getting the car going that I didn't notice the camera had stopped recording. I swear this is true, and I'm bummed that I don't have the footage to show it, but when the owner went to start the car, the battery was flat. It had actually failed. It was visibly leaking when we looked at it. So after replacing the battery, the car would crank, but it wouldn't fire. We realised the fuel pump wasn't engaging when the switch was turned on, and after some faffing about, the owner went to get some tools to test it directly. I flicked the switch and it turned on first go, so the owner got back in the car and flicked the switch and got nothing. I got back in, flicked it, and it turned on. Now we had fuel and it still wouldn't fire, so we pulled out spark plugs to check if it had spark, which it did. The owner was out of the car looking at the plugs, and so I cranked the car, and the first try that I put in, it fired. He put the plugs back in, went to crank the car and got nothing, so we swapped again, and I cranked it and it fired first go. The only conclusion here is obviously that the car likes me, and it did sound very cool when it fired up on a cold start. The owner said he was interested in swaps, so I offered to swap my MX-5 for it, and he agreed.
I think I might have missed some paperwork or something because I still ended up driving home in my MX-5. Anyway, if he ever comes through with that swap, I'll try and get some footage of it running to share with everyone. I will try and touch base with him again and see if I can get over there and get that last bit of footage of it starting up and maybe even driving around. But it did actually take me 8 months to meet up with him the first time, so I don't know how quickly I can make that happen. But I will try.
Well, then the lack of cinematography. I hope you enjoyed the look at the vehicle. Uh, my bumbling over it in just one go as I had a bit of fun poking and touching things that I thought were interesting with the car. It's obviously pretty unique. I'm going to try and get a video of it starting up. Hopefully that works out. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to do something like this walking around the vehicle in a while, so hope you enjoy it.